What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Salty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American League of Legends. It's the end of the season. We did it. We made it. The NACL Finals and the LCS Finals have just concluded. Congratulations to Dragonsteel for advancing to that Americas tournament as the #1 seed from North America. Fearx Starfor is going to be there as well. We'll talk about both those teams in a little bit. We also had the promotion tournament, which saw both of our NACL representatives making it back into league for the first time, and a lot more to unpack here as it's the end of the season. It's time for a little bit of reflecting. We also have our part 2 where Hawk was live at the NACL Finals and talked to some of those players. You can hear their post-game reactions there. Hawk, how are you doing today?
You know, it's been a day, but Salty Runback is back, baby. We just had the big kahuna, the weekend to end all weekends. We had the promotion tournament. It was a ton of fun. We were both very busy, which meant we were out of office yet again, but we're back with another episode of Salty Runback. And I mean, Graves, I loved the whole gauntlet to cap off the year. Promotion tournament before the NACL finals was awesome.
Yeah, every day it seemed like I came home, got to watch a really fun series of League of Legends, shit post a little bit on Twitter. Like I lost $20 because I made a bet about
Oh my god,
losing to Dragonsteel. And then yeah, we had the LCS finals go straight into the last day of the promotion tournament, and then NACL finals the final day. I mean, it was just a jam-packed week of League of Legends. I'm excited to break it all down. Quick headline for you, just your reaction before we get into this. Like LCS finals, what happened? What was that moment like when the minions killed the Nexus? Because it was insane to watch from home.
So Slayer, shout out Slayer, can vouch. He was next to me. I was screaming the entire time for Team Liquid to base. I did not think that ending the game was the right call, even in the moment, because they had just won 2 team fights in a row. I think one of the things that, honestly, the LCS cast I disagreed with was that they were really saying that FlyQuest completely outscales, which I think was partially true. They have the Ivern, so their scaling is theoretically a little bit better. But like Team Liquid had great scaling in their own right, and again, they had just won 2 back-to-back team fights. I wanted to see them take inhib, base, defend their base, and just win another fight. They were 1 dragon away from Soul, which is spawning in like 3 minutes. FlyQuest only had 2 Drakes. I think Baron was on the map. Like, oh my god, I was screaming for them to go back to base, and then they didn't. And then it was like watching a car crash in slow motion. I'm sitting there in my beautiful signed APA jersey that I bought on the day. I should go look.
Signed APA? Okay, that's news to me that Hawk has a signed APA jersey. Wow. Look at that.
Yeah. It's great. Look at that. It says APA right there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I'm like, oh my god, Team Liquid to the moon, baby, and like we're going to 5 games. And then they fucking beefed it. I will say TL didn't really look like themselves, which was a bit of a disappointment that day, but hey, the finals was a lot of fun, and shout out to FlyQuest. I'm happy for them.
3 out of 5 members of FlyQuest in the NACL in the past year or 2. So hey, good. That's pretty good investment in my opinion.
Yeah,
you know?
Was Busio in the NACL in 2023? I know that's like a stupid question.
He was the 22 summer MVP. Then he got called up to 100.
That's what I thought.
So
yeah, but close enough.
1 from each year. We got Busio 22. We got Masu 23. We got Quad 24. Wow. Pretty cool. But yeah, that was a crazy game to watch. Just from home, we were with like the NACL broadcast crew, like waiting for the promotion tournament to start, and the reactions there were just as insane.
I lost my voice screaming at the LCS finals.
Definitely had a little bit of FOMO, but you know, I hope you guys all had fun. You'll see what the vibes were like, of course, in our part 2 when we go to that live section. But let's move on to our headlines. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start off with the promotion tournament, as it was what came before the NACL finals, of course. And as a shock to potentially a lot of us, Dragoons Goons, Lotus, Pulsar, and the Ducky Getters all did not promote. It was both of the NACL representatives keeping their slots. This is the first time we did not see a representative from Tier 3 move up into Tier 2 for the start of the next split. So my question to you, Hawk, did we just overestimate them, or were these qualifier teams really just not as good as the NACL teams to begin with?
What a weird promotion tournament. I want to put it into perspective for everyone how much of an anomaly this was. AOE Esports is the only team previously to defend their spot. this was also the only time we've had less than 2 teams promote, because even when AoE defended their spot, that was when we promoted 4, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, a lot of firsts coming through with this promotion tournament. I will be honest, Grapes, I actually felt like you and I were very realistic about our promotion team's expectations. Until maybe like that Salty Runback episode we recorded leading up, where we kind of overdosed on copium a little bit for teams like the Ducky Getters. But like, even then, they each sent the NACL teams to 3 games, right? Like, I really think we were pretty realistic about the team shots, where we felt like Dragoons Goons was the obvious favorite, and then all the other 3 teams would be lucky to promote, right? But not impossible. Now, obviously, that's not even exactly what happened. Like, I think our expectations ended up being more off base, not in the way that we expected, because, I mean, the Goons totally shit the bed in the promotion tournament. Like, we can agree on this, right? Like,
Yeah. They only won 1 series, and it was a 2-1 against Pulsar. They then lost 3-2, I think, or 2-1 to AoE, and then lost 2-0 to Lotus. So didn't even get a chance to play in the best of 5s. They, of course, were against teams that they have previously defeated in the past from the qualifiers in Lotus, and also for Pulse, that's a team that did not have a ton of expectations coming in. So I think overall, with the 4 teams, Lotus and the Ducks, I think honestly performed pretty much to expectations. I think the Ducky Getters, in my opinion, were going to have a couple of exciting series. They were going to make it competitive against one of the NACL teams.
taking a game off
And
CCG is all they needed to do, like.
yeah, and then if they went further, I wouldn't have been super surprised, but I wasn't expecting them to necessarily make it out. Lotus was about how I expected, except for the fact that they beat Dragoons Goons. But I think that's in the fact that I think Dragoons Goons drastically underperformed from what we were expecting, and Pulsar actually surprisingly overperformed from what we were expecting. They were the last team in. They ended up beating Lotus in a 5-game series. I think Ariandel had a really great promotion tournament. Sage Wabe, of course, this guy that I personally had never heard about before coming in, or I know we follow each other on socials and stuff, but I just knew him as like the Pulse sub guy, not as a guy who has been playing in competitive before. And that was my first taste of him. He actually looked pretty good. So overall, we had one team overperform our expectations, one team underperform our expectations, and 2 teams kind of in the middle, in my opinion. And that just led to another thing. The NACL teams all looked pretty good. They all stuck together. None of them mental boomed like we've seen in the past, and that was enough for them to keep their spots.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth as far as like all the expectations we had for teams. Pulse, I really can't stress enough how much they overperformed Grapes. I think I might have gone on record to say something along the lines of, and well, clearly you were pretty confident about this based on Twitter bets you made.
I didn't think they were going to take a single
We
game,
didn't think they were going to take a game the entire tournament. So the fact that they did what they did, I mean, all credit to those players, to the organization. That is truly shocking, honestly. Like, I can't even be... it was amazing. What a run. Their series against Lotus was very fun. But ultimately, we did see against AoE that Pulse was, I think, still uncompetitive against the top teams in the tournament, which is kind of what we expected going in. But obviously, Goons was already gone, which meant, yeah, it was 2 NACL teams. I think AoE looked pretty good, though. We were saying from like week 4 of the NACL that team is going to get kicked out by Dragoons Goons, and now they're back. I will say, amazing congratulations to the players. I think Mobility has earned this. Mobility had a great promotion tournament, by the way.
Yeah, great.
I have been very critical of Mobility's play over the entire year. He's had a lot of highs, but I've also been critical of some of the struggles he's had, right? He had a fantastic promotion tournament. Him and Breezy. I said on Salty Runback that they were the second best bot lane in the tournament. Grapes, they might have been the best bot lane in the tournament. They looked phenomenal. City had a great tournament. Really happy for the players. I'm going to have the really hot take of I am frustrated from an organizational perspective that this AoE team is coming back, especially considering I have no faith in them to keep this roster of 5 players that have earned their spot back together.
Well, that might lead us into our next headline pretty well, Hawk, as we talk about AoE esports. They, of course, ended the regular season not having won a single best of 3 series, although they have taken games in 7 of their 9 series, and then came into the promotion tournament with a pretty good record. They beat Dragoons Goons, a team that we had a lot of expectations for. They ended up losing to CCG, but then beating Pulsar, just absolutely destroying them. in order to retain their spot. And I think I agree with you when you say that those players, that core that they ended up bringing together, most notably City, Witty, and Mobility, had really, really good performances and were probably the best players on that team. And they weren't even on the team until about week 6. So the question is, does AoE make the playoffs and avoid the promotion tournament altogether if they stuck with this group of 5 from the start?
It's really hard to say because this group of 5 actually played very, very well together. Whether or not they make playoffs, though, I don't know. I still feel like I anticipate Blue Otter being stronger than this team after everything that they did. I guess it comes down to whether or not you think they could usurp Disguised spot as well as
Or Winthrop.
Winthrop's, right?
Yeah.
And so, because I know Disguised, by the way, ended up finishing better than Team Liquid Challengers, but I feel like Disguised had the weaker regular season, right?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they come 10th. I honestly think this team would have been better than CCG in the regular season, even though they got 3-0'd in the promotion tournament, if that makes sense, because CCG had their own roster swaps that were a little weird. I don't know.
I'm looking at it right now, and in terms of our expectations with the rosters, that if like you handed me this roster at the start of the regular season, I probably would have still tier listed them somewhere towards the bottom 2.
Definitely. Definitely.
However, the way that they played is a different story and also the way that the other teams played could have been a different story because you look at the pure game record. I'm not going to go off of series right now, but Disguise, Winthrop, and CCG all were within 1 game of AoE in terms of wins. AoE had 7 wins, CCG had 8, or CCG also had 7. Winthrop and Disguise both had 8. If just a couple of those 2-1s that were losses for AoE turned into wins for AoE, that actually means that they would have ended up, ahead of them and into the playoffs, ahead of teams like CCG, Winthrop, or DSG, even though I probably wouldn't have tier listed them ahead. And so that just goes to show how close AoE could have been, and you saw things starting to come together a little bit more as the season progressed. I mean, they had their last 3 series were 2-1s against Blue Otter, their last 3 series were last 2 series, I should say, were 2-1 losses to FlyQuest and Supernova, and those were both very, very solid teams all the way until the end of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I'll leave my opinion at this. I'll say I actually don't think they make playoffs. However, they are not embarrassingly 10th place like AoE was this split. Does that make sense? Like they might even still come 10th place, but I don't think it's this 09, oh my god, they suck and they're completely cooked narrative. You know what I mean? I think instead they're more like CCG, Winthrop, Blue Otter. They're in that sort of tier, and exactly. We hold them in that regard, and we probably talk about them more coming into this promotion tournament as well.
I think that's a very fair assessment. Fun fact, before we move on to our next headline, the only 2 teams that AoE did not get a win against in the entire season were Dragonsteel and Team Liquid Challengers. Pretty good company to be in. Team Liquid ended up flopping out a little bit, but we were pretty excited about them. So we can move on to our next headline here as we talk about the NACL finals a little bit. And before the finals began, gave out some awards: the most improved rookie of the split, and of course the most valuable prospect. Congratulations to Levitate for winning rookie of the split. Congratulations to Zamudo for winning most improved player, and for Yuuji once again for winning MVP. Out of all these 3 players, Hawk, which one of them has the best potential future LCS career?
Man, what a hard question it is too. Because of course you've got Yuuji, who is now back-to-back most valuable prospect. He has now been twice deemed the player most likely to win the most LCS games in the next 2 years. But then of course you have Levitate and Zamudo, who both had, I think, big breakout splits. Honestly, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Grapes. I think this is the best split in tier 2 we have seen from Zamudo so far, right? Out of Wild Card, AoE, and now Dragonsteel. It's just the 3, right?
Yes, I think so, and I would agree.
Yeah, I think this is the best split of tier 2 we've seen from him. Which, man, I don't know what Niles fed him on that team, dude, but he looked so good. He fucking destroyed Philip in the finals. Philip was, you were saying, should have been like first team top laner. You know, like Zamudo ran that guy. And then you have Levitate, who I think had a great split. I am going to take the cop-out answer and still say Yuuji. Obviously, Yuuji, the thing that's working against him is that he takes an import slot. And with LCS going down to 6 teams, essentially, that is a bit of a problem. Or 7 teams, right, with the guest slot. That's a bit of a problem for an import unproven jungler. You know, in the eyes. I'm speaking as if I'm an LCS GM, right? However, Grapes, we looked at the rosters again before going live on the show, and out of the junglers in the LCS right now, I think Yuuji is better definitively than probably 2 of them, and arguably than 2 more. Which means I actually think there's absolutely a spot for Yuuji in the LCS next split. Like, I've said this actually about Shogo before as well. Like, at some point, I don't give a damn if someone is taking up an import slot. You still invest in that talent. Because he's not, I mean, Yuuji's not an import in my mind. You know what I mean? Right? And like, man, the guy can win you games.
Now, here's a question for you. You watched a lot of CBLOL. Where would Yuuji rank in the CBLOL junglers? And because I'm asking that question because there are going to be like abilities to carry over from the North and the South Conference once we go to the Americas 2025. Yuuji to me sounds like somebody who, you know, if an opportunity shows up for him to maybe play in South America. I mean, I don't know how committed he is to staying at university, but I think that could be a decent match and maybe an opportunity for him to get a playing time in a tier 1 region.
Yuuji would definitely be a top 7 jungler in the CBLOL as well. Oh boy, this is a tough question to answer actually. There's a very strong argument that Yuuji could be like a top 4 or 5 jungler in the CBLOL as well. So yeah, honestly, good that you bring that up. Yeah, he could do it down there for sure.
Interesting.
South
All right.
Conference.
Well, that might help his prospects a little bit. I don't know how much because like they import a ton in the CBLOL already, and so I think that, you know, a player like what is it, Croc versus Yuuji, like in terms of
Yuuji is better than Croc. I will just say
like,
that.
Exactly. Like you could start to move some pieces here. But I think the interesting part about this question is that how high are the ceilings of a player like Zamudo or Levitate in comparison to where Yuuji already is? Because Yuuji, obviously best jungler in the league, probably better than a good amount of LCS junglers, but this is the first split that we saw from Levitate in the NACL, and also the third that we saw from Zamudo. So I still probably say Yuuji because, you know, it's one thing to have the potential, it's another thing to actually get there, and I think Yuuji has done so. But I wouldn't say it's like out of the realm of possibility that somebody like Zamudo could take another step, find himself on an LCS team, and just do some crazy shit up there. Or that, you know, if Levitate finds himself on a sort of LCS affiliate team, if they exist even in the future, and they end up subbing him in, he would be, in my opinion, right now, like a very adequate replacement and somebody who'd be able to fill shoes at that level. Not necessarily like be a huge difference maker or like the best player on his team or the best bot laner in the league right now, but he still has a lot of room to grow. And I think even now he's an 80 carry. It's a very easy plug and play position.
Yeah, I think for Zamudo, I think he's still cooking, but I think he right now has the chance to kind of be viewed as like that next big carry top laner, right? That kind of does what no one else is really able to do. Similar to, I think, how people view Surdy right now, or like Sniper in the LCS, Tenacity as he used to be viewed. Like, I feel like that's Zamudo. And I think if he can put up a split in spring in tier 2 where he is the best top laner, he's that guy, and he wins another championship or something, I think he'll be the next up. Levitate, for me, jury's just still out. I think Levitate had a really, really good split, but he still wasn't like one of the best 80 carries in the league. Like he had a great split. But I want to continue to see more growth, right? Like I right now am not viewing Levitate as like inherently an LCS talent yet.
It's like a he reminds me of like Lens's year last year, when he was on, what was it, Supernova, or when he was on Fear, of just having like a lot of good moments and being, maybe a top half bot laner in the league, but still needing to see more. And for Lens, we still need to see more. I think a little bit. Um, and with ADCs, I think it gets a little interesting because, um, I don't know. There's not as much to show off. I think like somebody like Masu like was able to kind of take that next step and show like he has that X factor, and I think that's going to be an interesting thing to watch from a lot of the different ADCs, but specifically Levitate as we move forward.
For me,
Talking about, oh
oh,
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
All I was gonna say is for me, I think the number one thing I'm looking at with ADCs is like if you're gonna move up to the next level, you have to be able to consistently win your team games. Like we talked about that a lot with Array in tier 3 as well, right? And why he should be playing at the tier 2 level. I think that's something that Lenses showed us. You brought him up as a comparison. Levitate started to show it to us as well. But yeah, we just need to keep seeing it.
Yeah. I mean, still a lot of career to go. That's why he was just the rookie at this point. So we can move on to the NACL finals itself, where Dragonsteel kind of blasted Fear X Starforge a little bit. Fear had one good early game in game 1 that Dragonsteel ended up coming back from. They kept things close in game 3, but didn't end up mattering at the end. Game 2, complete stomp. Zamudo Nasus bonked everybody in that game. Dragonsteel ended the season, Hawk, only dropping 4 games total throughout the entire season and the playoffs. Does that put them in the running for a top tier 2 team of all time?
Such an interesting question, Grapes, because honestly, I'm not going to go through and like look at all the old tier 2 teams that have won championships and start drawing comparisons. That's your realm. You're the history guy, right? But dropping 4 games in the entire split, I think that's a not often enough talked about conversation for Dragonsteel. Didn't we have like on a recent episode of Salty Runback some sort of like over under how many games Dragonsteel loses the rest of the year? Like,
Yeah,
and
and
I
it went
might have
under.
said like I think they lose 5 or whatever. Like that was just for playoffs, right? And they
I
went
think
the
we put it at 2.5, and I think I took the under, you took the over.
You were right, man. Like this team was without any shadow of a doubt the best team this split. And it's so fascinating to me too, because we know Yuuji's like this LCS ready player, but when we look at the rest of the names on their team, like a lot of great players, don't get me wrong, but we're not thinking of them as like necessarily the next NA superstars yet, perhaps. And I don't know if we've really ever had this happen. FlyQuest had Shaden and Quad and Surdy on the team, right? And teams in the past have had that going on. Team Liquid teams with Yan, right? But we just have this team of sort of like they almost feel like more than some of their parts. I don't know how to analyze it, but this is an unbelievable achievement that they've just gotten to.
Yeah, they like your initial instinct is to say no, because you think about the other teams that have come before, and maybe we're a little bit biased and nostalgic thinking about all the teams that we got to cover in the past and how awesome they were. But four games is pretty impressive. I will say, at a point we do have to take like level of competition into account. I do think that 2022, 23 you could argue that they were maybe more dominant or more difficult teams in that realm. But it is an interesting conversation. I do think that the Dragonsteel bot lane could be like people that are close to that LCS level as well. I don't want to I want to shout them out because I think they had a really, really great season.
They did.
But my answer is still, I think, Team Liquid from 2022. Bradley Armeo, Harry, Jan, and Ayla. They won back-to-back Proving Grounds. Sure, they didn't do as well in the regular season necessarily, but it was, I think, a large part because their competition was way more difficult throughout both splits. I mean, you had Cloud9 Academy with Darshan, Shaden, Copy, King, and Destiny. That's a team that probably could have been in the LCS, but just was a challengers team.
So
I could go down the line, but I think that is still the best tier 2 team ever. Also because they went back to back.
before we move on to our next headline, people always ask like, could Alabama beat the Cleveland Browns? Right? Could Dragonsteel make LCS playoffs? Could they make top 6 out of 8? If it was this split, could they have finished higher than, I suppose it's NRG?
That's hard to say. I don't know. I don't think so. But they'd be in the mix. Like I don't think they'd go like 0-9 or whatever, or 0-7, whatever the regular thing ends up being. Immortals, Shopify, NRG, even Dig, like they were all teams that had pretty rough patches in the regular season and could have definitely dropped to Dragonsteel. So I'd say no.
I think Dragonsteel does it.
You think they make playoffs?
At the very least, they come 7th. They finish higher than Shopify and Immortals.
Interesting.
And I think they can beat NRG. NRG has some really good players on their team, but man, they look clueless. And something I really have to praise Dragonsteel for throughout their entire season is they really know how they want to play the game.
We did have, arguments of Team Liquid Challengers also, or Team Liquid Challengers / Academy being a top 5 LCS team. So
right, everyone always asks the question.
I'm still gonna run with them. I think that they had that was it. The Cloud9 core with like Zazel and Tomio and Fake God that like ended up turning into Disguise is also an interesting one because they technically won back-to-back, but I don't know if you could call either of them necessarily as dominant. So, interesting conversation. I think we're a little bit. I think we disagree a little bit, but not by too much. As we can move on to our final headline here, which maybe we could reflect a little bit on the state of the NACL as a whole, as it's the end of the season, and there's a lot of uncertainty actually about what is going to happen. We just got some leaks about what the new teams that are leaving the league could look like for 2025 at the Tier 1 level. And who knows, honestly, what the Tier 2 scene is going to look like in the future with the Americas region, of course, having North and South, and also a lot of the teams already leaving, and what things are going to look like with the ascension spot that's going to be available for teams starting in 2025. So, question to you, Hawk, as we wrap up our headlines is, what are the parts of this NACL season, or what are the parts of this league and the format and how it works that you think are the vital for its success and that you'd be disappointed about if they're not involved again in the future?
Yeah. I think all things considered, by the way, this is a pretty good year of Tier 2 and Tier 3. I mean, there was some downsizing and all that, but I think a lot of people did make the most of it. I think the really important things for Tier 2 that need to stay are, one, the comprehensive coverage and storytelling of these players. Like, I really don't think anyone champions the Tier 2 players more, and even like more authentically, like not just like championing them because they cover them, but more authentically champions the Tier 2 players than the Tier 2 broadcast talent and everything like that. And the way that they tell their stories is so valuable. I also thought Full Fearless was amazing. I think this is the future. Grapes, I was just realizing too, if there's 3 splits next year, I guess we'll have 3 splits in Tier 2 maybe.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Which I think
That'll
also with more free, like 3 splits, that actually allows for more frequent promotion relegation. Again, like honestly, with the volatility, I even looked down at like the Tier 3 level with the volatility of rosters and teams and stuff like that. Having those more quick opportunities to promote earn your spot. Like I think that is actually a benefit.
So is that going to happen? Are there going to be 3 opportunities to promote each year?
I have no idea.
Because isn't the first in my head, the first like split, like the winter season is a lot shorter than the spring and summer ones because it was like a single round robin into this one international tournament that happens like in February or something.
I have no idea what it's gonna look like. I'm just totally spitballing, but I think promotion relegation has been good, and especially with the new ability to like move up and down and everything. I just think giving people more incentive to put a team together and play League of Legends that's not necessarily money, because we all know that like money is tough in esports right now. Like, it's good.
Yeah,
but also pay people.
Yeah, that's the number one. Totally agree on your statement about broadcast. I would even say that this year the broadcast was not as good just because of financial things as it was in the past. I think we have made that very clear from the start. The way that the tournament was formatted, the season was formatted, was much worse because of the fact that the broadcast ended up being downsized a lot. It was only a single round robin as opposed to a double round robin. I don't necessarily think that is good, but just the more we can see the teams, the more we can watch the teams, and the more resources we have to tell their stories is the better.
Yeah.
Both for the longevity of the league, but also just for League of Legends esports as a whole. Like, it's not like investing in this is just for fun. We've seen time and time again players promote up in the LCS and have really good success. I mean, 3 out of the 5 of the LCS champions, and 3 out of the 5 of the people on the other team, or 2 out of the 5 at least on the second place team, were directly from that system.
Yeah.
Um,
I really quickly want to butt in and add an addendum to why broadcast is so important and everything and why we do it. It's just I really think if we want esports and League esports specifically, but I think again League sets the bar for esports in general. If we want it to be a real league that cultivates real fandom and actually holds up over time, you can't just try to make people a fan of pro, right? You have to be able to love players all the way through, like college football, right? Or for me, Major League Baseball, I like Grapes. I'll talk about Adley Rutschman when he came up about 2 years ago for the Orioles. Everyone thought he'd be that guy. They built him up as this guy. They're playing tape from his time on Norfolk, and oh my god! And he came to the Baltimore Orioles, who were last place team in the American League, and immediately made them into a winning team. And I once was in Germany, and there was this little boy with a number 2 Orioles jersey, an Adley Rutschman jersey, walking around in Berlin. And that was when I immediately realized that that is the product of stories beginning and being cultivated naturally, right? And so that's why broadcast is important. I've loved what the LCS has done, telling the stories of APA and Yan and Masu and Busio as they came up through the system. So yeah, even though less people watch the tier 2 broadcast, and yes, purely off of viewership alone, it's probably not as lucrative as a tier 1 broadcast, it makes everything that stands above it stronger, So that's my piece on that.
yeah, it's interesting because the role of tier 2 in League compared to the MLB, for instance, is actually starting to separate a lot as we have continued to progress throughout the years, as it used to be kind of a direct mirror where you had these farm teams leading into the NACL, but I think leading into the LCS. But I think now it's going to become a little bit more about
it's gonna be EuroLeague soccer.
yeah, promoting into the league. That is going to be the goal of all these organizations.
And that's
I'm very
fine.
curious.
There's nothing wrong with that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
It's just going to look a little bit different, and I think it honestly gives the broadcast and gives this tier 2 league a better chance of actually surviving a little bit more on its own and actually making a little bit of return back, because there is the incentive of seeing these teams directly earn their spot, as to in contrast to seeing them play and seeing if they end up getting promoted by an LCS team, how could they look. And so I think that is going to be a good change to the league. I think that the big thing, keep getting as many sponsors and big organizations and big influencers into the league as possible. I think having Fearx, Starforge, and Dragonsteel even have that little that little bet with Asmongold and Brandon Sanderson was an interesting little spin on it. Creating reasons for teams to be for fans to be fans of the teams, whether they already have an existing fan base or they have a big influencer behind that. That's going to become even more important as we head into this next split. I know that Valorant has had their fair share of influencers in their space, and we're seeing that more and more. We gotta get that continuing to go. In terms of the format of the league and how that ends up working, I think Fearless is cool. If it's not a thing anymore, I'd be surprised, because it seems like everyone's a big fan of it now and it's gaining more popularity. But I don't think it's necessarily a make or break. That's the biggest thing. Just creating reasons for people to watch and for people to tune in. And I think that a good broadcast with big influencers following the league and continuing to be a part of it are the 2 big things that have to continue.
Yeah, Fully agree.
That's a lot of stuff to chew on potentially as we head into our part 2. But we'll continue to monitor what is happening, and of course, whenever that big announcement ends up coming out, we'll be sure to react to it on here as well. We're gonna head over to our part 2 when Hawk sat down with both Zamudo and Niles from Dragonsteel and Exyu from FXS Starforge about the grand finals.
And welcome to our part 2, everyone, where I am joined by the victorious top lane duo of father-son
duo.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader.
We'll see.
Oh, right. Is one of you guys gonna fall to the dark side? I don't know. Oh, well, either way, the victorious top lane duo and coach duo of Dragonsteel, Maryville University, whatever you want to call them, fresh off their 3-0 win over FXS Starforge, Zamudo and Niles. Guys, to get things started, we have just won the championship. Zamudo, I'll come to you first. How are we feeling today?
It's still kind of feeling like a fever dream, but I'm honestly really glad that we just all like played a really good game of League of Legends, and I mean the win came naturally.
Win game naturally. What about you, Niles?
Yeah, I think honestly we have probably been putting in a lot more work than Fear has, and we've been scrimming a lot of tough teams like Fly and TL, and so we went from getting our butt completely kicked the entire week and a half of scrims leading up to this to going on stage and not being challenged in the same ways. And I sort of like watching it, I felt like we were like Rock Lee without the weights. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
You know, we were just like, oh, we can breathe. And so once we could finally breathe, I felt like we just knew exactly.
I feel like you can say some like sick slogans with that. We're like, yeah, we were forged in fire or something like that.
Some Dragonsteel stuff?
Yeah,
Forged in fire?
there you
Okay,
go.
I like it. That'll be the new t-shirt, the championship t-shirt. 2024 NACL Summer, Forged in Fire.
I'd buy that.
You-
I mean, I don't know about you.
You heard
I'd
it
buy
first.
that. Yeah. I love it, dude. Okay, and so something I didn't mention in the intro, Zamudo, we're finals MVP, man. Garen Gaming. I mean, like.
I mean, you know me, I played the handless champs. Garen, Udyr, Poppy. Hard to mess them up, honestly.
Come on, Poppy. I feel like takes a little skill. You know, you gotta
Okay,
press W at the right
that's true,
time.
that's
like,
true.
Yeah.
Granted, I didn't press it at the right time, but you know, hey, we got the job done.
We got the job done, and that's what matters the most. Well, guys, Niles, I want to come to you with this question because last time we talked, it was CLOL, and I know, last CLOL, a tough loss came through, and now we brought in this guy. And how do you feel that both Zamudo being added to the roster has changed things for the team, and then the squad as a whole has grown to this moment?
I think the biggest growth. Hi, Ryan.
Yo!
We're doing it right
No,
over
do you want to say hello to the fans on Salty Runback?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Goat support.
The
Yeah.
goat, Zyko.
Zyko.
Okay. Hang on. I'm gonna interrupt your question, Zyko. I have a really important one for you. Here, take a seat. We're gonna freelance it right now. All right.
Okay.
Zamudo. Sorry, Zyko. What was your favorite moment of the series? When you drove Herald into the wall, or when you pulverized away the Jinx and we didn't get the kill? What was your favorite moment?
Hold. Okay, so the Jinx one, right? I got Leona queued as soon as my combo was going.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
interrupted.
What about the Herald one?
The Herald one, mouse gap. My mouse just it
Mouse gap.
You know,
just didn't work.
Thank you,
I might have been calling for like 30 seconds about that Jinx play, by the way.
Dude, I was so close to comboing her, and then Leona just stuns me mid through,
Winsome is that good.
and then I was like,
Winsome is
yeah,
that good.
oh yeah, he's so
He's
good.
the goat.
Winsome is that
He's the
good.
goat.
You should have seen him in lane.
I think we all saw it, bro. I think we all saw it.
Thanks for letting
Yeah.
me make fun of you for a moment. Dude,
Yeah.
congrats on the win, man.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Hey, I'm also a big fan.
Damn.
Don't worry. All right.
Anyway, back to
Well,
the
anyway,
question.
yeah, back
CLOL.
to the real question.
Yeah, so I think the guy with the biggest growth has been Jerry by far, honestly. When I was playing on the team, I was the one making calls, especially in mid to late, and I felt like he didn't really understand always why things were good. But this summer, he's been working so hard in terms of studying VODs, and me and him having a lot of really good conversations about the game, so that he understands why professional teams are doing things like contesting mid on these waves, or when they're basing, base time is another big one. Just I feel like he has taken a huge leap in terms of his understanding of the game, So that's the biggest difference in terms of the guys who are still playing. And then obviously Frankie coming in the roster, he's much more stable in the laning phase. He's very, very dominant in lane, whereas I definitely wasn't. So he would just win his lane 1v1 on his champs, and so that relieves a lot of pressure on the map because their jungler has to bail out their top laner in certain scenarios, and that just makes it easier for everybody. So yeah, I'd say those big differences.
And,
I mean, if I could add something about Jerry, you know, honestly, like, you know, being in the same room with Jerry and like just seeing him like work so hard every day, like, it's definitely been like a part of the reason why it's so like, it feels like a lot easier to like work hard, you know.
Dude, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, yeah, being around motivated people, I feel like really can do so much. And kind of going off that, I mean, for you, Zamudo, coming to Maryville, how do you feel you've gotten to grow both as a player and as a person since joining this group of guys, you know, getting to all play together in person, all that kind of stuff?
You know, it's definitely like really exciting, but you know, there'll be like days where I'm like, you know, not in the best mood, but you know, me and Aiden will go on walks maybe, and you know, we'll work through it.
Go on some drives, go on some walks.
Dude, everyone needs like a late night drive every once in a while, you know?
It really hits.
Yeah. Do you guys ever go for like the 2 a.m. McDonald's meal deal, Maryville McDonald's meal deal?
Usually it's not 2 a.m. Usually it's like 10 p.m.
We
scrims or
stay
anything.
responsible. Okay. All right. Cool. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
And so it is a rough day of scrims, and so we're just driving and hashing out our thoughts and just
I like it.
talking through everything.
Maybe in the middle of the scrims.
Maybe in the middle of the scrims, if that's necessary. But a lot of time spent together.
That's great, man. I mean, that's awesome to hear. And you were saying, hey, I just gotta listen to this guy. Zamudo, it's like the best thing he's told you. What's the number one advice?
Well, you know, coming into this series, he told me all I had to do was communicate the three things, you know, their condition, their tempo, and if I want to fight.
Yeah.
And you know, I might have not done any of that, but
You did it most of the time.
I did some.
You did it most of the time. You did it most of the time.
I did some of it.
You did it most of the time. Frankie.
I don't know if you know. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say when I was watching the series, I could see my programming on Zamudo, the good and the bad parts. So like, okay, in the Garen game, okay, you'll see him when he's moving to the Herald, okay, and he TPs about like 10 feet across mid lane, okay. There was.
That's what he told me. Right?
I will take full responsibility for that. There was a scrim set we had where he was like sort of in their jungle and bot side rotating to the Herald, and I told him, dude, if they're top laner TPs, just match the TP. And that is exactly what he did. And I saw that. I said,
Good soldiers follow orders, man. Good soldiers follow orders.
Exactly. And so I was like, that's my goat, bro. That's actually my goat.
I did what I was told. Bro.
I love it. And then, you know, if it goes horribly wrong, it can't be your fault. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Dude.
That's my fault.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
I know, because I'm sure people were like, why is he TPing? I was like, that was me. That was definitely me. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this either. We got a soundbite on broadcast, like, of the comms, where Zamudo, you said something along the lines of like, oh, I just got like, I love playing for team or something like that. And it was really funny. It was like in the middle of game 2.
What did you say, bro?
I said like, you know, as a wise Aiden once told me, you know, just play for the team. Just play with the team.
Yeah. It's like after you killed like 3 people. Like
You TP top. You match TP top.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's another thing that I told him to do. Is if we're taking a fight, we're picking somebody. If they're top TPs, always match. That's what
I was getting in there, bro. I was like, TP ward, give me it.
Yep, he was actually there. Yep.
Oh my god.
It's great.
Well, looking ahead a little bit, you know, I mean, it's been a long season for you guys,
Seriously.
and off season coming up. I mean, you know, what's next? What are we looking forward to both in the off season and beyond?
Well, there's Brazil.
Well, there's Brazil
Oh.
still, yeah.
Fuck, dude. I'm gonna ask about that too, but I totally remembered that when I asked that question. Yeah.
I mean, there's still Brazil, but
Still Brazil.
I would say, you know, looking forward to Brazil.
Yep.
If we won this so dominantly,
Yep.
if we keep our form, I don't see us. You know, it would be the golden road. You know,
I can see mine.
undefeated NACL season. Go to Brazil. We'll see what happens. Frankie, what are you looking
People are
forward to?
not ready for the.
I mean, I can see my future pretty clearly, you know. We're gonna go to Brazil, and you know, we're gonna play our best game, and then I'm gonna really focus on school. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So.
Student.
Talk about Brazil a little bit. I mean, this is going to be informative for the viewers. Do you guys know exactly? It's like 2 weeks from now, right? Like,
No,
or
we leave tomorrow for St. Louis, and then on Tuesday we are leaving on a flight to Brazil.
wait, really?
Yes, that's the turnaround.
Okay.
And the tournament is finished the 22nd.
Perfect. Coach knows the days.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll be flying home. We'll get home on the 23rd, but the finals is the 21st. group stage starts on the 14th.
Wow.
So it's a week long tournament.
Okay.
Yeah.
So group stage starts on the 14th. Thank you for remembering that.
And there will be good times because in Brazil for all the NA fans to watch and to cheer us on. We might not win at Worlds, but we will win this tournament.
We will win Academy Worlds. And
We will win Academy Worlds.
What more worlds can we need?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, then to look at that tournament a little bit, Zamudo, come to you first. What are you looking forward to doing in Sao Paulo besides winning, of course? Like, what do we want to do in Sao Paulo?
I haven't really thought about that. I mean, I've heard that you aren't supposed to go outside. I heard you're not
We
supposed to.
won't go outside at night.
So
I'm sure we'll be fine during the day.
I'm just looking forward to spending time with my team.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
So it's sweet.
What about you? Niles, anything you're looking forward to doing?
I honestly, every day that I spend with these guys, pursuing like League of Legends, getting better, watching games is a total blast. I love this game so much. I'm just looking forward to doing more League, and talking about it, playing more teams, and yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Quacks, how are we looking on time? It should say at like the top right of the screen.
We're fine.
Like, how long has it been?
It has been 10:54.
Great! I was told I have 10 minutes. So, before we wrap everything up then, guys, the last thing I really want to do is, Zamudo, I'll come to you first again. Any closing thoughts for your summer split, for your finals performance here today, anything else you want to be able to say to all the fans out there?
I mean, honestly, I just want to say, shout out to, all my, family, my brother especially, he's always supported me a lot, and shout out to my friends.
Yeah.
And my team. Shout out to my team.
W Zamudo.
Yeah.
It's W.
W Zamudo.
W Zamudo.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's been such a pleasure watching your growth over the last few years. From all the way back on we got any third partiers in the chat?
Dude. Dude, throwback.
Dude.
He still has the jersey.
Do you really?
I do.
I
wear
nice
it.
colors too.
I wore it when I came to Maryville.
Did you really? Oh my god, I love it. Well,
Throwback.
dude, that's amazing. Niles, anything to add before I let you guys go?
Nope. Just more to come in the future, and we'll have a blast in Brazil. Put up a good performance. Thanks for supporting.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I proved the haters wrong.
Hey!
Yeah!
What's up? All right. Is this the second team All-Pro top laner? I don't know. Finals MVP?
And I was seeing some power rankings. So I might have been eighth. I might have been eighth.
Let them know. Let them know. All right.
Nice.
That's your finals MVP right there. This is the victorious topside and coach of Dragonsteel. We'll see you in the next interview. And welcome to our second interview of the part 2, where I am joined by the jungler for Fear X Starforge, Exyu. Exyu, my friend, first of all, I know it was a tough series today, but still an incredible season all throughout. I just want to leave the door open to you at the start to just anything you want to say, thoughts, reflections, feelings from the season and specifically today's match.
For the season overall, I think I'm pretty grateful for everything that's happened. I think making it to Brazil and qualifying for finals is obviously a really fun experience.
Mm-hmm.
As for today, I think luck kind of caught up to us. I feel like we've had a lot of miracle situations that we've kind of dug our way out of, and today we weren't able to. And I mean, props to Dragonsteel. I do feel like they're one of the teams that is really hard to claw your way out when you fall behind. So yeah, definitely just wasn't our day. I would say that looking forward to Brazil, they will be our number 1 opponents. So we definitely need to improve before that if we want to beat them in finals next time.
Yeah, I mean, and it's awesome that you guys are going to have that shot on that global stage as well. To talk a little bit, about your team and your season, I know that you were pretty vocal about, joining Fear X Starforge, some of the changes coming into the split. How did the team sort of come together, and how did you find yourself getting onto the squad for the summer split?
I mean, it's kind of interesting because the main reason I joined was because JJ was on the roster. So I got a lot of offers for tier 2 as soon as it was announced, which honestly I think they were too soon. Give me some room to breathe a little bit. But there were a lot of offers, and Juan messaged me and he's like, hey, let's play together. So I was just instantly like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And then we play one scrim together, and after that we get a message like, hey, team meeting, guys.
Bro.
Team meeting. He has a health problem. He can't play. And I was just like, oh shit.
Well,
I love the guys now. The whole team. But at first it really was just for him. So then it's like, all right, well.
That's unfortunate. That's unlucky. Well, I feel like it still worked out
Yeah.
pretty well. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I would say.
Yeah, I'm like super happy with my decision to join Fear. I think there wasn't any other roster that I would be like meshing as well with, and I'm super grateful that they like flew us out to Ohio, did a boot camp. I feel like that was really, really nice of them. And
Yeah.
it was pivotal. I feel like we wouldn't be here without that. So
Yeah, and I actually wanted to ask you a little bit about that boot camp because I mean, you guys seem like you're having a great time. We were dancing. We're tier listing casters. I won't take it personally that I wasn't on that list or anything. It's okay.
that wasn't up to us.
Yeah,
So
no,
you
no.
me for our like our
Oh,
social
true.
media guy.
Matt, was it Matt? Right?
Jordan or
That's Jordan.
I don't know which one.
Come on, guys. I mean, you know, I don't actually cast NACL regularly, but still offended, totally. No, but you guys were having a good time, right? Like, tell me a little bit more about the boot camp. Favorite memories, you know, stuff that you guys got to do.
I think favorite memory was definitely just like having everyone live together. Like, it really throws you back to like the college vibes of like you're living with all your
Yeah.
friends. I was even sharing a room with Philip, so like having those late night talks and just like I don't know, overall just having a good time, like living with friends who you're teammates with, but you're also just good friends, and like it
Yeah.
really is just a good time. And I feel like that makes the scrim environment less stressful, just the overall environment less stressful, and lets all of us feel comfortable.
I love it. I really love it. And you know, for you as well, you mentioned you felt like that was a big part of the team's success, getting to this point. What did it mean to be able to play on the LCS stage again today?
Well, it did mean a lot going into it, because I was like, the last time I was here I got swept, so let's not do that. And then
Oh,
we kind of did the same thing, so at this point I'm really just hoping that wasn't my last time on the LCS stage, because like, that's what I thought last time, and I
Right.
got swept. And now I got back, I was like, yeah, we're going to change that, and we got swept again, so like,
so all I'm hearing is we just gotta get back.
we have to get
We
back.
just
Like,
gotta
we
get back.
cannot end on a 0-3, like, you just can't end on that, so
I-
hopefully next year I'll find my spot in the LCS and be able to redeem the 0-3 curse.
I believe. I'm a believer, man. I think you've been still killing it. I mean, I think there was a lot of people that were kind of honestly surprised that you weren't playing in the LCS for this year and everything. And so I think you still got it in you personally.
Yeah.
When for what it's worth, when Jordan came up to us and asked for predictions at the start of the series, I'm sure it'll be a part of a Fear content piece somewhere in the near future. I gave 3-2 to Dragonsteel, but I said, I think Exyu's got the sauce to win 2 games. When you stole that dragon, you know, the dragon for the soul in game 3, I was like, this is it. This is the moment. It
Yeah,
wasn't,
I cannot
but
believe the game ended the way it did. Like, yesterday's finals with TL, that was like, at least it wasn't that bad. But like, the way this ended was like, yo, we just lost. Like, what the fuck?
yeah,
What just happened?
it happens. But did you have like a favorite moment from the series? Because there were still some moments. We had some good team fights, or I don't know.
I thought the Maokai triple kill was kind of funny top.
I forgot about that.
I was just like, oh shit, like, we're like completely fucked. I was like, they're kind of inting. And then we're just kind of running at them. Yeah, that was fun.
Nice. We love Valkyrie triple kills. All right. The looking ahead now, though, of course, we talked a little bit about Brazil. You excited to go to Sao Paulo? Do you have anything, you know, non-League of Legends related that we're excited to do? Have you ever been to Brazil? I don't
No,
know.
I've never been
Okay.
to Brazil. It does look nice. I have heard a lot of like warnings of like you gotta be careful,
Mhm.
and obviously we're there to compete. So I think for the most part we probably won't be traveling that much, like outside of the hotel and the venue.
That makes
think,
sense.
Especially after losing today, like it really feels like everyone on our team will be locked the fuck in for Brazil. So I'm expecting like us to just grind a bunch of solo queue. I think, especially for our team, we need more playstyles.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're a pretty one-dimensional team right now, and I think that one dimension is extremely bad against Dragonsteel. So, yeah, we have like 2 weeks to prepare. Just gonna grind a lot, and hopefully we can win in Sao Paulo, and then we can go explore outside.
There you go. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, Exyu, before I let you go, I guess the last like major question I have for you is, do you have anything else that you want to be able to, you know, say to the fans of Fear, of yourself, you know, and any thoughts on your personal growth throughout this year specifically, but then also throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, to the fans and everyone who supports Fear, or just me in general, like I'm super grateful. Obviously, it really does mean a lot to have people who are like constantly supporting me, especially through like all the shit that's happened in my career. it's always nice when I like can go online and I'm like, you know, like Reddit doesn't fully hate me, and obviously like I shouldn't like.
But that's the mark of a pro player.
No, but,
if
like,
Reddit doesn't fully hate you, you're there, right?
Yeah, like sometimes I mean obviously it's gonna happen. Like at some point I'm gonna run it down and Reddit's gonna hate me. But like for the most part, I feel like Reddit is pretty supportive and the fans at LCS or wherever, they're all genuinely pretty supportive. So I'm really appreciative of that. And as for my growth, it's hard to say that I'm super proud of like how I've become because we just lost. But I am happy with the player that I'm becoming, and I do feel like on this team, I'm picking up a lot of responsibilities that I haven't had before. And I feel like that's forcing me to learn more how to become a jungler like Inspired, where like he's someone you just throw on any team, and suddenly that team is like a top 2 team. Like no matter what team you throw him on, he just becomes a top 2 team. So like for me, it really is important that I try to become that type of player myself, where I'm not so much of a passenger, and like I'm making sure that as long as I'm on the team, this is a team that can win anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that answer. I mean, hey, right now, top 2, tier 2, but top 2, right? And I mean, honestly, I think the growth mindset even after like defeat is super admirable, man. I love that so much. Well, you know, anyone you want to shout out? Anything else you want to say before I let you go? That's all I've got for you.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to my girlfriend. She's always super supportive, and she was out there today, and like, obviously it sucks to lose, but like when you look out and like she's supporting me, I'm just like, I can't be that mad. So like, I just need to work harder so I can win next time.
Awesome. I know I'll be rooting for you. We're gonna send it over to the outro. Thanks, Exyu, again for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much to both Zamudo and Niles, as well as Exyu, for sitting down with Hawk and talking after the NACL finals. Always tough for, you know, being the loser of that a big stomp like that and still be down to talk. But Exyu's a really good guy, and he killed it as always.
Yeah, and you know, a good conversation. I appreciated Exyu, you know, had a very like, I think hungry but also positive outlook despite the series and everything, which was really great to see. Seemed like a lot of good experiences coming from it. Also, I mean, dude, so happy for the Maryville guys. By the way, I feel really bad. I like have to say this. Zyko like came in, right? And I immediately, my first thought was like, oh, I'm going to banter with him. I'm going to roast him a little bit, but then we'll talk about the win. But then he just kind of left. So I basically roasted a dude that just 3-0'd the NACL finals and then didn't get to like actually congratulate him. So Zyko, shout out to you for being a good sport.
You can't do that to my boy like
yeah,
that.
I relived his like worst moments of the series and he's like, okay, like I'll see you guys later. So
yeah, good moment. But Zamudo and Niles, fun to talk to as well.
Yeah.
I think that Zamudo is going to be around for a while, and I'm happy about that. So
definitely.
that's going to do it for this episode, though. We'll be back next week, I think. There's a good amount to preview. We have the Americas tournament. We also have HuFest, as we got to get back into CLO, baby, as school's been starting again. Some of the teams have been announced for that, some roster changes, things like that. I've been, you know, it's only a 3-hour drive for me. Maybe I end up paying a visit. Who knows? Probably not. But
Grapes, is this foreshadowing? Are we gonna see you on the mic?
No, I'm not. I will not.
Oh,
be there. I will not be working. I might be hanging out. But yeah, should be fun stuff to talk about. And then of course, as we continue to go on, conversations about how the regular season for 2025 is going to look, as well as maybe some just good old-fashioned banter. We should definitely do like some tournament as well for the off season.
Dude, see, we're both like 2 months ago we're like we're not gonna do it, but then now we're kind of like, but we're kind of jonesing for it. I had people asking me about it this weekend. I had people asking me about doing a tournament. Like, yeah,
we'll see.
We'll
see.
It's now our casting off season, but it is not Salty Runback off season completely. We'll definitely, like, this is not our final episode of the year for sure. Whether we're back next week or maybe the week after, I guess it depends on how much we decide we have to talk about, because we should do an episode about Americas. I have a press pass for Americas, so I can try to do some interviews that maybe we can put up on the channel and stuff like that. HuFest coming up if we do an off-season tournament. So we still have a lot to talk about, but this is, you know, the end of the season as we know it, or as we have known it. You know, tier 2 has generally come to a close. So it's been a good ride. We'll still be back sometime soon. If you don't think that Yuuji should be in the LCS after winning back-to-back MVPs, you can take what we said with a grain of salt. Follow us on all of our social media at Hawkcast, at Speedy Grapes, at Salty Runback Pod. And make sure you tune into the next episode when it comes out. I've been Hawk. That's been Grapes.